All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks. My key games for this upcoming weekend in the world of college football. And I'm going to start off with a big one on Saturday afternoon in the ACC as you got sixth ranked Miami traveling to take on Louisville. Now, the Hurricanes come into this game favored by 5, and you just have to wonder, will the Cardiac Canes leave Louisville undefeated? I mean, you look at Miami's last couple of games, they survived against Virginia Tech, and they had to have a frantic comeback on the road in Berkeley against Cal. The talent for this offense on Miami is there. There's a lot of talent. Okay, here you got quarterback Cam Ward, running back Damian Martinez, and wide receiver Xavier Restrepo, just to name a few. Tyler Barron on that defensive line. Can he go out there and make life tough or help to make life tough for Louisville quarterback Tyler Shaw? The Cardinals have a solid offense as well. Keep an eye out for running back Isaac Brown as well as wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks. Like I said, Miami comes into this game favored by 5. I think this is going to be a back and forth, nip and tuck affair to the very end. I'm going to take Miami by 1 point in this one over Louisville, 31-30. Now in the Big Ten, you've got unranked Nebraska traveling to Bloomington to take on 16th ranked Indiana. This, of course, is a meeting between two of the biggest surprises so far this season in the Big Ten. Indiana is just one of 3 teams within the Big Ten that has 3 conference wins so far. And of course, the credit for this turnaround in Bloomington goes to head coach Kurt Signetti in his first year there. You look at the Hoosiers, and they are on pace for their best season in program history. And I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere come Saturday. You keep have to keep an eye out for quarterback Curtis Rourke, as well as wide receiver Justice Ellison and wide receiver Elijah Surratt. Defensively, you've got linebacker Aiden Fisher as well as Mikhail Kamara on that defensive line. As this Indiana team is very talented. They're not ranked 16 in the nation for nothing. All right. On the flip side, for Nebraska, this is a big game for them as well because the Cornhuskers come into this contest with a record of 5-1, and a win here would make them bowl eligible for the first time since 2016. And of course, there was a time, okay, for any youngsters out there checking this out, there was a time when Nebraska football was synonymous, okay, with success. And unfortunately, the program has fallen on the wayside for the last decade or so. But nonetheless, quarterback Dylan Raiola, the true freshman, what's he going to do in this environment against this Indiana defense? You got to keep an eye out for wide receiver Jamal Banks in this Nebraska offense, as well as Ty Robinson on the defensive line. For the Hoosiers, they come into this contest favored by 6.5 at home. I think this is going to be a solid Big Ten matchup. And I'm going to take Indiana to remain undefeated by the score of 27-20. Now, it's the third Saturday in October, and we still get to see one of the biggest traditions in college football. And I'm talking about when Tennessee and Alabama get together. Once upon a time, this was a huge rivalry, but you think about the time that Nick Saban was the head coach at Alabama, the Crimson Tide simply dominated this rivalry. Tennessee was able to finally break through 2 years ago on a walk-off field goal. Okay, and of course, Josh Heupel was the head coach for the Volunteers that day, and he's still the head coach for the Volunteers when they welcome the Crimson Tide to town. So you look at Tennessee, they got the win over Florida last Saturday, but they really didn't look good doing it. And this offense for the Vols has not looked good in recent weeks. Quarterback Nico Iamaleva has not thrown a touchdown in the last 2 games for the Volunteers. I think for Tennessee, they have to get their running game going with Dylan Sampson. Why? Because Alabama has had problems stopping the run this season. And if you're Tennessee and you're looking at the game tapes from the last couple of weeks, you have to give Dylan Sampson a heavy dose of the ball. Getting him the ball, opening things up for play action to the likes of Squirrel White is going to be big. And then for Tennessee, they have the second ranked defense in the nation. No volunteer opponent has scored 20 points this season. However, they have not faced an offense that is as complete as the Crimson Tide offense. And, overall, Alabama, they haven't looked good in their past couple of games either. Jalen Milroe, 4 interceptions in the last 3 games. I think I know that Kalen DeBoer is more of a passing head coach, but nonetheless, I think Alabama's got to get back to establishing the line of scrimmage with their running game with Jam Miller, Justin Haynes, and getting Jalen Milroe in those running situations, then setting it up for play action to the likes of Ryan Williams. That has to be important to me for Alabama's game plan. The Crimson Tide defense has got to get back on track. I keep saying this every single week. There is too much talent on this Alabama defense, especially at the linebacking position with Jahad Campbell, Quay Robinson, and Deontay Lawson. And then, of course, Keon Sabb and others in that secondary. This game, I know Alabama comes in favored by 3, but for me, it's a classic toss up because I'm going to tell you like this. If Tennessee can get their run game going, I like the Vols to win at home. But if Alabama's defense plays like they should play, and you get more balanced, or get a more balanced offense from Alabama, I think the Crimson Tide will win. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to take Alabama in a squeaker, 27-23. Now in Atlanta, you've got the 12th ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame traveling to take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And for the Fighting Irish, they come into this contest favored by 11.5. And they've looked like a different team since they lost at home to Northern Illinois. For Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard, all 6 of his touchdown throws this season have come in the last 3 games. You've got running back Jeremiah Love, and then you also have wide receiver Bo Collins. And then this stingy Notre Dame defense, you got to keep an eye out for the likes of Howard Cross on that defensive line. A lot of talent on this Georgia Tech offense with the likes of quarterback Haynes King, Jamal Haynes at running back, and then, of course, Malik Rutherford at wide receiver. Linebacker Kyle Efford, what will he be able to do to try to slow down this Notre Dame offense? Georgia Tech is an improving team. This game is at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. I really feel this takes away a little bit of that home field advantage. I know it's in the same city, but it still takes away from a little bit of that home field advantage that Georgia Tech needs in this contest. The fact that it's not on campus, advantage Notre Dame. The Irish are favored big in this one, and I'm going to take them to basically cover the over under is 49.5. They're favored by 11.5, and I'm going to take Notre Dame in this game by 11, 31-20. Now, back in the Big Ten, you got a battle of 2 ranked teams. As you got the 24th ranked Michigan Wolverines traveling to Champaign to take on the 22nd ranked Fighting Illini of Illinois. So for Michigan, they're fresh off of their bye week, and they've got to find a way to put the loss to Washington behind them. Who's it going to be a quarterback for Michigan? Is it going to be Jack Tuttle or Alex Orji? But whomever it is, the Wolverines have to get back to establishing the line of scrimmage with their physicality, which means they need to run the football effectively with Kaleo Mullings and Donovan Edwards. Defensively for Michigan, you've got linebacker Ernest Hausman as well as Josiah Stewart coming off of that edge. We saw Illinois escape Purdue. And when I say escape, they really did escape with a win against Purdue last week. Luke Altmaier has been solid, as has wide receiver Pat Bryant, and then you got Xavier Scott in the secondary for Brett Bielema. Make no mistake about it, I think this is going to be an old school Big Ten type game, which means there's going to be some physicality and there's going to be some paint swapping out there. Michigan's favored by 2.5. I'm going to take them by 1 in this one, 24-23. Now, back in the Southeastern Conference, you've got eighth ranked LSU traveling to Fayetteville to take on Arkansas. And for Louisiana State, they are one of just three teams that are still undefeated within the SEC. And the Bayou Bengals, they're going to have their work cut out for in this one if they expect to leave Fayetteville with a win. You look at this LSU offense. Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier has thrown four interceptions in his last two games. Okay, so will this Arkansas defense, the stingy Arkansas defense, go out there and put the pressure on Nussmeier? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, a lot of talent around Garrett Nussmeier at the skill positions. You look at running back Caden Durham, as well as wide receivers Kyron Lacey and Aaron Anderson. Talent overall on this LSU team. I expect this defense for the Tigers to try to go out there and slow down Arkansas's offense with the likes of Whit Weeks at linebacker and defensive ends Braden Swinson and Savion Jones collapsing that pocket. Now for Arkansas, they're coming off of their bye week, okay? And of course, we saw them knock off Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, ranked team on the road in the SEC, and they're looking to do it again. Taylon Green and this offense, we saw Taylon Green get banged up against Tennessee. And of course, he's more of a runner than a thrower, okay, as a quarterback, which means LSU's defensive assignment, they've got to focus on the run game for Arkansas, take the likes of Jaquindon Jackson out of this game, and they have to make Taylon Green a passer. I expect LSU to have a spy on Taylon Green throughout this contest and just try to make him one-dimensional. Easier said than done. Xavier Sori and this Arkansas defense, can they slow down this LSU offense? And I talked about Garrett Nussmeier throwing four interceptions in his last two games. That means the onus is going to be on TJ Metcalf and company in that secondary. Now, for LSU, they come in favored by a point and a half. This is going to be a very tight contest. LSU is going to have to work for it, but I think they get it. And I think they leave town with a 27-20 win. And finally, the big one in the SEC, the big one that most people are talking about and looking forward to this Saturday. And I'm talking about a top five showdown in the great city of Austin, where you have the fifth ranked Bulldogs of Georgia coming to town to take on the top ranked Texas. This contest here clearly has college football playoff ramifications on it. This is a game right here that we could see a rematch of in the SEC championship game and also possibly in the college football playoff. For Georgia, we saw them go on the road a couple of weeks ago in a hostile environment and clash with Alabama. Alabama jumped out on them early, looked like Georgia was about to get boat raced before they came back to make a game of it, took the lead, and then, of course, Alabama basically came back and got it done in the waning moments of that contest. But nonetheless, I think for Georgia, they've got to start faster, and it's going to be easier said than done because Texas is better than Alabama. Nonetheless, I'm putting it on Georgia quarterback Carson Beck and, of course, running back Trevor Etienne. What are they going to do against this Texas defense? But you're looking at this Longhorns defense. They're top ranked in the nation coming into this game. No Longhorn opponent has scored 20 points on them this season. So I think if you're Georgia, you want to try to go out there and get points early. And when I say get points early, you want to try to get a touchdown, try to quiet this crowd and take them out of the game, which is going to be easier said than done. You got Quinn Ewers back at quarterback, and of course, he has a great backup in Arch Manning. So it's like if you're Georgia's defense, you got to go out there and pick your poison. Isaiah Bond, he's seen a lot of Georgia from his time as a wide receiver for Alabama. Now he's doing it for the Burnt Orange. And I talked about that Texas defense. Keep an eye out for linebacker Anthony Hill. A lot of NFL talent will be on the field Saturday night in Austin. You have two of the better coaches in college football as well. Two former Nick Saban assistants, Kirby Smart with Georgia, and of course, Steve Sarkisian with Texas. No Texas opponent has scored at least 20 points on them this season. I think Georgia changes that Saturday night. However, Texas is ranked number one. I really do feel right now that they are the best team in college football, and I think they show that on Saturday night at home as I'm going to take the Longhorns by the score of 30-24. So, folks, Those are my key games for this upcoming weekend in the world of college football. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, if you like what you saw and heard on this podcast, please feel free to hit the like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Also, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Enjoy that college football action this weekend. Take care and have a good day.